Okay, I'm gonna make a couple of custom length cylinders here. And while I do that, I'll talk about how cold press architectural wood doors are manufactured. Having done that in the past, I can speak to how that's done. That doesn't go there. Okay, what we're going to do, first of all, let's look at our order. We've got a Kaba Ilko 7205, which is an 1.25" cylinder. And then I have a couple of 1-inch extensions. So I'm going to make a 2.25" cylinder. And then I've got a 1.1" mortise cylinder here. So I'm going to make an 1.1" long thumb turn. Okay. So let's go about doing that. I have my fixture already taken out of the box. Architectural wood doors, well, architectural, you know, what does the word architectural mean? Architectural usually refers to the concept that the door is made to a higher manufacturing tolerance in the sense of using higher caliber products. And the assembly, or I should say the construction, is also different. Versus a residential door. But, you know, I can't really say that there is an absolute distinction absolutely when it comes to an architectural door, because there are different calibers of doors that are considered architectural in nature. You can have a 5-ply hot press door, but if the core is floating,
or can advise me on what I can do. I'm actually looking for the spindle for an Adams Right lock.
Okay, which Adams
Now, I
Right?
see that you actually... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, forgive me, which Adams Right lock you have?
The 3090-01-121.
Yeah, sure. That is, that's trim, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's
The only piece that's broken, that's causing the door not to open and close, is the spindle itself. Now, we have... I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's not a lock. The lock is the latch, or the bolt is in the edge of the door. The 3090 is the trim. I understand now.
Yeah. So we usually go for the Mayflower, but for whatever reason, due to supply issues, we just can't seem to get it. And we were told to weld 2 pieces together, kind of jerry-rig it, but unfortunately, none of the locksmiths know how to weld anything that would actually hold.
Yeah, I mean, I've welded spindles like you're describing together in the past, and you know, that's really not your first option.
Correct.
So you're looking for a spindle. Let me pull up the parts drawing of a 3090.
I mean, they did send us, I guess, a schematic where we would have to snap off the piece or add a piece. So, let's see if I can pull it up while I have it in phone.
Yeah. Yeah, you need somebody pretty good at welding to. So why do you need? What's the concept of welding? Did yours break and you just need the?
Well, the customer, the original piece broke and snapped off completely. So they just wanted the whole lock replaced, but they're not willing to spend, $600 on a lock.
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah. So they're very willing to just pay for a piece, and then trip and labor, but
So that
it is what it is.
that 3090. I mean, are we talking an E-Force?
Yes.
Okay, is the part number 910079?
I can check.
It looks like it's a tailpiece, or what Sargent would call a cylinder bar, and it has score lines on it to give you the concept that you can snap that off with pliers, even though you have to carefully cut it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Well, I mean, if it's a 91-0079, I've got 3 of them in stock.
Okay. How long does the shipping that take normally?
Well, a day or 2 for us to get it out the door, plus transit time. Are you in New England?
No, we're actually based out of New York.
Okay.
Long Island, to be exact.
Right on. Yeah, so once we ship it, about 3 days to get to you. If we ship it ground.
Okay. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure I write this down. At this point, I really don't care about the cost. I just want to make sure that I can get it, and the customer's happy to wait for 3 days. Apologies. I didn't even realize you all would be open at this hour.
Or not. You happen to catch me.
Then apologies for that too.
Oh no, you know the routine. If I didn't want to be on the phone, I would have answered it.
Richard, my name is Stephen again. What's the part number?
91-0079.
Perfect. And up to 3 days, do you do overnight shipping or anything like that?
Yeah, we can do it any way you like.
Okay, so stupid question on that, because I would have to, add the cost to the customer. How much would overnight shipping to 11735 for?
I really don't know, but I couldn't see it being less than $75, and it could be as much as $100. If it was me, I would put $100 there. 50 for 2 day, and 15 for ground.
Day, 100 for next day. Okay. I should be calling you back.
Awesome. If you don't catch me, it would be Monday.
I probably won't.
But
it will be Monday.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing is I'm making a couple of extended length cylinders. I'm going to make a 2 1/8 inch long mortise thumb turn, and then a 2 1/4. I'm basically taking machined brass and drilling and tapping the backside of a mortise cylinder to extend the length.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you caught me after hours actually doing some production. So.
Oh, so you don't just answer the phones. You're actually own operator. Look at that.
Yeah, yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. Well, perfect then. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and have a good weekend.
Same to you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm wondering now. I'm wondering if this is supposed to be a double cylinder lock, or if it's supposed to be. I said a thumb turn earlier. This is not a thumb turn that I have sitting here. I'm gonna have to contact the client, ask him. I've got 2 mortise cylinders here, not a mortise cylinder and a mortise thumb turn. I don't remember what we're doing.
Order.
Which channel are you talking about?
It's from CRL. I have a part number whenever you're ready.
So I'm not really looking at it, but on the right side, does it say buy now or add to cart?
It says add to cart.
Okay, below that, does it indicate any inventory?
Yeah, it does say quick ship and then immediate in stock ready for shipment. It gives a few numbers.
Okay. What's the length of that U channel?
It's 120 inches.
Okay,
10 feet.
so be mindful, the shipping cost on that's going to be brutal.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. Honestly, I don't need it very long. I don't know if it's possible for you guys to cut it down and ship it ground.
It's not. It's possible for us to do it, but it's going to ship out of C.R. Lawrence. That's the trouble.
Oh, really?
Meaning they won't cut it down.
Right. I mean, I guess it is what it is. It says quantity. Do you guys? Well, I guess two questions. It says Los Angeles has 57. Is that an accurate number?
Reasonably.
Okay. So this would need to go up to San Francisco, so not terribly far. But I imagine it's still going to have to go freight.
Yeah, definitely common carrier.
Yeah. We do have a freight order that we typically use. Are we able to just have them pick it up and go about it that way?
If it was at my location, yes, they will not third-party ship. The only thing that you could do would be will call it, but they're not going to crate it. They're not going to skid it.
Got it. Okay. Do you have any U-channel that you guys keep in your location?
No, sir.
No, you don't. Okay. Do you know, I guess last question is, if we ordered, if it's a drop ship through CRL, how do they usually ship pretty quick?
They do.
Same day, next day?
Yeah, 3 days typically.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and get an order in. Do we just do it online, or is there a better way to do that?
No, you can do it over the telephone. You can do it online, or you can do it over the telephone, whichever you like.
Okay. I'm gonna have I gotta get my purchasing department to do it, so I'll let them know, and then they'll either do it online or give you guys a call.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. All right, I'm going to call the customer and find out what length we're doing. Pardon me, what cylinder type we're doing. I am in receipt of the cylinders for your order on the thick door application, and what came into me were 2 cylinders, and I don't recall if we were doing cylinders on both sides, keyed cylinders, or if we were doing a thumb turn on one side. I just need to know. My memory tells me that this was a cylinder, that it was a thumb turn, but I need that clarified. So give me a call, 239-315-7889. Thank you. So what I know for sure is that there was 1 cylinder, so I'm going to, we know there's a key cylinder, so I'm going to proceed with making up a key. I'm going to drill one of these. Who knows, maybe the client will call back. It's Friday at 5:20 in the afternoon, so probably not going to hear from the client, but it doesn't matter. We'll be able to fix this up really quick. It doesn't take very long to modify this, although it is a bit tedious, I will admit. Okay. So cold press, hot press doors, architectural doors is what we were about to drive at. Really the difference there is it's not extremely clear cut. So you have to be mindful in terms of knowing what the requirements are of the job and what it is that you're getting, because the core type, the construction type, whether or not the core is bonded to the outside stiles and rails, or if particle core is laid loose inside of a frame and just dropped in and then held in place with glue, that may not be what is needed. You can have you can use the term architectural. Doesn't mean it's going to meet the requirements of what you want to do, however. And that's what you have to be careful with. So a hot press type of application is a very different animal in the world of doors. So what I'm going to discuss is cold press, because cold press is what I've done in the past. And cold press means that...
And I have a neighbor and friend who has a, I don't even know how you say it, aptly, but it's a range hood.
Oh, sure. So I don't sell range hoods at all. For some reason, my name comes up. We sell commercial steel doors.
Okay, yeah. And
Hofco.
I did email you guys, and that's what he said. We don't sell range hoods, and they've got you listed for their, their contact, their supplier or whatever.
Yeah, I understand. I do not sell range hoods at all.
Okay, I will let you go, and thank you for your time.
Sorry, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So cold press doors, that means that the door is glued together by using pressure. Several tons of pressure, several dozens of tons of pressure. And a door is actually quite simple in concept to make. It just simply is. There's just not a lot to it, is the bottom line. You basically are going to... So hot press manufacturers could literally be making up their own door veneers, you buying veneer only. So what we would do as a cold press manufacturer would be to purchase pre-manufactured door skins, which is basically, it is plywood, is what it is. So it's eighth of an inch thick plywood, and that would be 3 layers of plywood. The veneer, the cross-banding, and then the backer. And you would basically buy door skins.
PC2WK.
No, I don't keep that on hand.
Alright, thanks for looking.
I'm sorry, sir.
No worries.
Bye.
Bye.
So purchasing door veneer is actually quite easy, in the sense that all you're doing is ordering plywood. So you could, let's just say that we would order only 3070, 3070, 3080, 3090, 4070, 4090, let's say. And you could order that in plain sliced red oak, rotary natural birch, plain sliced select white maple, sapele, flat cut walnut, plain sliced American black cherry. Whatever you can get in door plywood, you could certainly end up making doors out of. So what you end up doing is you take a piece of this plywood, roughly, and you'll get into a situation where you add equipment or machinery to make these steps easier. But what you really just simply end up doing is taking your piece of veneer, pardon me, your door skin, your plywood. It's plywood. It's 3 plies. It's 1/8 of an inch. And you roll glue on it. It's what you do. You then need to get onto that your 2 stiles, your rails, and then your door core. So what we would do is we would build the cores themselves. The particle board that's going to have attached to it the stiles and rails. Glue all that together, and and that's how that works, is the bottom line. So what we'd end up doing is taking the door skin, rolling the glue on it, dropping the pre-assembled door core, then guess what? Another door skin, glue, flip it over, build a stack of 20 of those, put it all into a hydraulic press, drop 100 and some tons onto it, slowly, and let that sit there for however long it takes. I forget. 4 hours, 6 hours, At that point, you've got a whole stack of doors that are ready for trimming, actually. Just bear with me. Whenever I drill or tap something, I use thread cutting fluid. Quite frankly, I find lubricating the tool is a way to preserve the life of the tool. And when all that comes out of the press, it was a 5-foot wide, 10-foot long hydraulic press. When all that comes out of the press, you've then got this stack of doors that you can then take, and you could use, and the way we were doing it, we didn't have super sophisticated ways to trim all of that, nor did we have a super sophisticated way to bond the cores to the stiles and rails. That was done with a lot of clamps, a lot of work, and even sometimes finish nails, which is not ideal at all. There are tools that exist to really make that a lot easier. But what would come out of the press would be a stack of doors. Now, it could be 2 doors, it could be 20 doors, however many we could fit in the height if we were trying to do that. All right. At that point, you could take a router, which is called a laminate trimmer, and we'll have a laminate trimming bit in it, and you can just buzz that around the perimeter of the door and cut off all the excess. Then from that point, you could literally get that into your table saw and cut all that nice and straight. Put your 3-degree bevel on it. You do that at the I'd probably want to do it at the rails, the top and bottom first, and then the stiles. Now, I was at a manufacturing plant, Ideal Door. They were in the southern part of Indiana. I don't recall the town of where they were located. New Albany is where they were. A very high quality manufacturer. And they literally had 2 saws in the shape of an L, like this. The door would come down and get ripped in this dimension, and then just go this way and get ripped in the other dimension, and they would set up the saws accordingly to achieve the net size that you need. That was really slick. And then at that point, you could literally go to the machining department, and then you could end up at the finishing department as well. But the entire concept of cold press doors is literally glued plywood. And the door that I'm describing would have been what is known in the industry as a 7-ply door. There's 5-ply doors, which are hot press doors. Although there's nothing that would preclude it from being cold press, but you'd need 2-ply plywood, and plywood doesn't come in even numbers. Okay. So the key of the cold press door is buying the door veneers. It's easy. So there's 5 components in a door, if I recall. There's the skins, the plywood. There's the stiles and rails. There's the stiles. There's the rails. There's the core. and then there's the glue, and that's it. The key, really, when it comes to determining doors and their caliber and their quality, as far as I'm concerned, is the classification of all the components. And by the way, the AWI Section 1300 is the governing document. The question becomes what is the caliber of the veneer? Is it A grade? Is it double A grade? Is it B grade? So generally you'll have A grade. Sometimes you'll see double A grade. You know, if it's going to be painted, who cares what the grade is as long as there's no voids or fills or cracks in it at all. And then, so that's the quality of the veneer. Then what you're going to end up having is what is the construction of the door as it pertains to the core and whether or not it's bonded to the stiles and rails. You could have a rail, two stiles. You can get those attached like a just a frame, and then you could literally cut the core so that it drops in, but you're always going to have a void all the way around. Now, a non-bonded core, I wouldn't call that architectural grade. I would call that a economy grade door. So a bonded core door is going to have such that the edge of the core is not only touching the inside face of the stiles and rails, but it's glued together, so there's no voids there, so that when you attach hardware, you know, you've got something that's not, I wouldn't say solid, particle board isn't solid, but you have something that's there that it's free of voids, basically. Not only that, but when you have a void between the core and the stile itself, there's only door skin that's holding that together, door plywood that's holding that together there. So that's certainly not ideal. So an architectural grade door, to me, doesn't matter whether or not it is a cold press or a hot press door, because really that is just how the adhesive is activated. Whether it's room temperature or there's actual heat that's activating the glue, I am unaware of any real quality difference, and I'm quite sure that others would agree with me, others that own wood door manufacturing plants. Whether it's cold or hot press, who cares? The architect doesn't, well, who cares? Because it really doesn't matter. What makes an architectural door is quality lumber in the components, a bonded core, quality veneer. The lumber itself being all quality. This is the part of the cylinder making process that always gets me most nervous. Because it's getting the holes lined up. That's the inherent hard part of this game. Looks like it's going to be reasonably okay. Yeah, looks like it's probably going to be okay. And this tool will get completely cleaned. Completely cleaned. Now we're going to put the tap guide on. Oops. So, are the stiles and rails is it a bonded corridor? Do you have the, let's say, you know, A grade plain sliced, you know, American black cherry? Do you have lumber that is of matching or compatible species to the face? So if you have maple veneer doors, maple face doors, you're probably going to have birch lumber as the stiles. That's called compatible. But if you had cherry, you wouldn't use birch, you'd use cherry lumber. If you had walnut, if you had sapele, you would use a species of mahogany for the stiles. It has to be matching or compatible. Oak is red oak is going to be obviously red oak. White oak, yeah, you're going to use white oak lumber for that. That's the bottom line. Then the next question becomes is how thick is the actual wood itself? Is it just a banding where that door is trimmed at the shop and it's leaving you with 1/8 of an inch or less of actual lumber? Or is it a piece that starts out as 1x material that's then laminated to another piece of 1x so that your stile is actually 1.5 inches thick? Is that what you're getting? Is that what you're expecting? That has to be defined. When we made cold press doors, that's how we did it. We always had a piece of 3/4 poplar behind a piece of 3/4 matching or compatible face, is how that's done. Oops, don't like that. So the easy part is buying all the components, and there are people where you can buy those components from. Back then, I don't know who's doing it now, but back then it was Megantic in Canada that we were buying skins from.
Good.
Good. You know, I don't recall our conversation. Was it a cylinder on each side of the door, or was it a thumb turn on one side of the door?
Thumb turn on one side.
Yeah, okay. That's what my memory told me. I just wanted to make sure because someone put on my desk 2 cylinders, and I said, no, that ain't right. That ain't right. He's got to have a thumb turn. Yeah, but I didn't write down the thickness of the door. It doesn't matter, but just because we're speaking, how thick is the door? Do you recall?
4 inches thick.
4 inch. All right. Just wanted to make sure, sir. Thanks for calling. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye. A 4-inch thick door. 4-inch thick door. So I've got to figure out where my thumb turn went because someone brought me a cylinder, and that ain't right. That ain't right. And I'm very glad that the client called and gave us that information. So I'm going to tap this because I'm at the tapping stage, and I'm going to go look for a thumb turn. Hopefully we have something here. So I'm going to tap this hole now. So it was Megantic in Canada that made the veneer. We got certain species from them. And then there was a company up in northern Wisconsin. And I don't rightfully remember their name right now. I'd have to look that up. But we would buy other veneers from them. The particle board we literally bought from someone like Weyerhaeuser or Georgia Pacific. Very typical. The glue we would literally buy from a local glue manufacturer in 55-gallon drums of a particular type of glue. The lumber we would buy from a lumber company that we worked with. The poplar and the stiles and rails we'd buy from a lumber company. The glue from a glue manufacturer, the veneers, the cores, and that's basically everything. And if you have a planer, if you have a press, you really have everything you need to make doors. You can bond those cores together so that you have bonded core construction. You can trim those doors any way that you see fit. And you can machine them however you like. So cold press doors are not that difficult to make. Looks nice. Looks reasonable. Oh, we ain't done. 4-inch thick door, he said. Okay. We're going to have to check all this. So I did the 1.25 inches. I hope that wasn't the wrong length. I'm thinking that it's not the wrong length. Threads in reasonably well. Turns reasonably well. I'll tell you, you've got to be spot on when you do this. Just use this. And we got to a point where maybe with a half a dozen people we could lay up 80 doors a day. Machining the material is actually quite interesting. It's fun, in fact. It's fun in the perspective that it's computer-controlled machinery that does it. That company is in Petaluma, or was in Petaluma, California, by the name of Caval. They, a lot of people, I think, in the business use different types of machines for doing this work. Caval, the Caval equipment is specifically intended for the wood door industry. And that means that it's fixtured, that it's built, it's engineered, it's designed for you to be working on wood doors. You don't have to do anything special. Like if you had a multi-axis CNC router, that's not necessarily going to work exactly how you want it to work for door work, is the bottom line. Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, the holes aren't absolutely perfect, but it turns reasonably well. And with time that will certainly smooth out. Alright, so the client said 4-inch, and this is going to be 1.25 inches. I'm sorry, 2.25 inches. Underside of the head to the back of the cam. What are we getting here? Yikes. Yeah, 2.25. Okay, so I've got a 2.25 cylinder. So let's do some math. We got 4-inch, we got 2.25. We're going to want to get that into the door. And I know that I have some cylinder collars on here as well, which are an F thickness. I don't know where those cylinder collars are. I'll have to go find those. Cylinder collar. So 2.25. Let's say we make the other one 2.25. That's going to be 4.5. It's pretty thick. Maybe we needed to do 1.125 on both of them. So 2.125. Yeah, we probably should have done 1.125 on both of them is likely what we ought to have done. So I need to locate, let's do some math here, 4-inch thick. Okay. Let's find some cylinders here. This 2.25 is probably going to be the wrong size for this job. Okay. I need to look up and see what we ordered for this job. $72.05. Yeah, I've got an 1.25" cylinder on here with another a mortise cylinder, so that's not ideal. Not at all. And then those collars that I figured were going to be 1/4 inch thick. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see what we can locate here. Okay. So I'm going to do, I'm pretty sure the 1.25" is not what I wanted to do at all. So let's see if I have the parts here that we're going to need to do this job. So 4" and we're going to use 1/4 inch trim rings. So 4" minus, let's say 1/8 inch between the two cylinders. What I mean there is when the two cylinders come each other, let's put 1/8 inch behind here. Let's divide that by 2. So that's 1 15/16. Let's say that we're going to use a total of 1/2 inch of 2 collars. That's going to need to be 1 11/16. So these cylinders need to be, yeah, this is all wrong. 1 inch extensions, that's all wrong. We're going to need shorter material, that's for sure. Unless we went with .3/16 thick collars, 1 inch cylinders, or we went with 1/8 inch collars. Yeah, 1 13/16. All right, let's see what we have now in stock. Okay. Okay, brass cylinder manual. So 1.25". 4 inch? I don't think this door was 4 inch originally. No way. It couldn't have been 4 inch. This door had to be thicker than that. 7181. Alright, so I have in stock 7201. Got an 1.25 inch. That makes sense that I have that because that's probably what I was planning on. I got a 7205 in black, which is 1.25 inch. I've got 1 1/8 mortise cylinders. I think this door, I think the original conversation was 4 7/16 is what I have in my head. Alright, I've got 1 1/8 cylinders. So 4 minus 1/4 inch, pardon me, 4 inch minus 1/8 inch, the margin between the two cylinders. And now, what we have to see is what collars I have in stock in black. 861. I've got F collars and K collars. Yeah, I've got F and K collars. So 861. F and K. I've got 1/4 and 3/16 is what I've got. 1/4 and 3/16 F collar. I've got F and K collars. So if we do 4 inch minus 1/8 inch minus, let's say that we use the 1/4 inch collars and divide that by 2, I'm left with 1 11/16. So that ain't gonna work. Let's say we go with the 3/16 collars. One divided by 16, no, 1 divided by 8 times 3, that's 0.375, no, 1 divided by 8, yeah, 0.375. So if I go with the 3/16 collars, I need an 1 3/4 thick inch and 3/4 long cylinder. If I go with the 1/4 inch collars, that leaves me with 1 11/16. If I use the 1 1/8 and then the 3/4 collars, I will be at, oops, that's not what I want. No. We could use the 1 1/4 cylinder that I just made. Do I have an 1 1/4 mortise? Yeah, I've got 1 1/4 mortise thumb turn. No, yeah. The point being is I could use my shorter extensions, MCE-X100, MCE-X100.
Order?
Yeah, the tracking department won't be back till Monday at 9.
Okay, I'll call back on Monday.
Tell me the order number and I can get an email to them.
Let me see. 194548.
All right, I'll email them and ask that they communicate back to you.
Okay, I have that it was supposed to come yesterday, that's why.
Not a
So
problem.
I'm wondering what happened.
Thanks for calling.
I'm sorry? Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. tracking request. Got it. All right. So I have 3/4 inch collars. I've got half inch extensions. So I think what we'll do is let's use the half-inch extensions on the inch and a quarter cylinders. Half-inch extensions. Do I have the right? Yeah, I have a Kava Ilko 7201. Yeah, I've got a inch and a quarter cylinder length. 7201. Yeah, I've got an inch and a quarter thumb turn. So we'll be able to use what I've already done, but we're just going to swap out the extension for this. So what I'm going to do is get the 7201 and I'm going to drill that. So all I've got to do is, because I want to wrap this up, 7201, it's an 822. Let me go grab that. 822, 567, 822. Yeah, it's right here. All right. All right. So yeah. So let's drill this bad boy. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I lost my mind for a moment. The bottom line is the cylinder won't be threaded all the way tight. It'll be backed off to a certain degree. And the fact that on paper, well, let's just run the numbers again. We're gonna do 4-inch thickness minus the 1/8 of an inch between the two. Let's say a 1/16 of an inch, 0.625, minus the 1/2 inch for the 2/4 inch collars, divided by 2. Yeah, so I'm a 32nd heavy on each cylinder, a 32nd. But that would be if the cylinder was tightened absolutely tight, and it really can't be. So that 32nd is going to give us the small amount of wiggle room that we would need. So I'm satisfied with that. I mean, we could... If I had in... Let's look. Yeah, it's 6/2 dozen the other. You know, I could use an 1 1/8 cylinder with a 1/2 inch extension, but it's gonna be too short in the sense that I'm struggling to get it threaded in. At least this way the client can back it out one rotation if necessary. So that's where we're gonna land on this. That's how this is gonna happen. It's 6 o'clock on a Friday. I'm gonna drill this other cylinder and then I'll leave the assembly for tomorrow when I return to work. So cold press doors are really easy to make. They are easy to understand. The issue with door manufacturing is you can do it by hand. You can do it literally using tools that are commonly available. The issue with doing it by hand is it's a lot of labor. You can't really scale that up very, very high. And with a glue spreader, which I don't think the guys used very often, meaning they found it easier to take a roller, like a paint roller, 80 doors a day is where we would hit an 8-hour day. 4 stacks that would go into the press. Those would sit overnight. And the next day, you know, part of the team was, obviously, trimming the doors, and then it would go to machining after that, to the Caval work. So what I enjoyed about the process was I was able to basically use a formula, a very simple formula, in fact, that said, what's the cost, and I would have an Excel sheet that would have everything in it that I needed. The door veneer would be a variable. The glue, how much it cost me for a 55-gallon drum, how much did I figure I used per door. My door veneers, I knew what I would use and I knew the cost of the door veneer. I was buying the particle board, maybe pre-cut, I don't recall, the LDL or LD1 particle board. I may have been ordering it cut and then maybe had sheets if I had to do something unusual in terms of size. It wasn't just all 4x8 sheets, although it could have been. I just don't recall. And I would have cells in Excel that would have the cost for each of those components. Then if I was looking at oak, my formula for the oak page would call the formula cells for oak, and then the other fixed numbers that I had, including the lumber for the stiles. So it was all quite easy science, and it worked perfectly, in fact. And that was all in the late 90s is when we were doing that. The issue now with COVID, massive. I mean, the wood door industry was never quick in terms of lead times. But with what's occurring now, boy, if I had several thousand doors in stock, I could have sold them all because of the exceptional lead times. The Caval machinery was quite nice. We had a tool called the Edge, and it literally did everything that you could do to the stiles or the rails of the door. Should be deep enough. Yeah, that'll be deep enough. It's strange the phone keeps ringing. Okay.
The 10 ULDB201.
What flavor?
Satin chrome.
How many?
3 or 4.
I don't have 3 or 4 in satin chrome, but I've got 5 in satin nickel.
Do that. Okay. That'll work.
Okay. Is this an order that I should enter now?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is this an order that I should enter?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Sure. Hang on one second. Sorry, you caught me doing some work after hours. Okay, let's. So you want this one here? Okay. So how many?
Let's just do 4 of your 5, I guess. I don't need all 5. So.
Got it. All right. And what is your email address?
Last 3 digits are supposed to be. You have a pencil? Sorry about that. I'll get it here in a second. You got a pencil? Pen. Oh, I gotta color the pen so I can see if I can figure out what number this is. So while I'm trying to find this real quick, is there a way to expedite shipping on those things?
Yes, we can do that. Let me
Okay.
tell you what the cost would be. So overnight would be $133. 2-day would be just less than half of that. Now, if it was overnight, they could still show up Monday. As far as I know, FedEx treats a drop-off Saturday morning as the same as a drop-off Friday afternoon. So that is possible, and I am coming into work tomorrow.
What otherwise is it
So,
3 to 5?
oh yeah, ground's going to be 3 to 5, yeah.
5? Okay, let me see if that'll fly. 3 to 5 days, okay? Otherwise, it's going to be like $100 to ship it overnight, or 50 something to get it here in 2 days. How much money is that? I don't know. Okay, so can we do like the guaranteed 2-day shipping thing that you said was going to be like half of that?
Yeah, it wouldn't arrive till Wednesday, though.
Well, it'll be here Wednesday. Okay, yep, that's all right.
All right, that is no problem.
Yeah, I wish. There we go. Let's say 27. Okay, so it's 272 for the security code.
All right, let's take a look. 2-day air.
Security. Gave you an error?
No, 2-day air. No, it's all good. I've emailed you a confirmation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. No problem. My name is Rich. We'll get it shipped out.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Have a
sir.
good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, somebody was in Lenexa. I thought it was Schleg. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks better than the first one. So what we got to do now is we have got to get those 1/2-inch extensions. Screw them together. Okay, I've got like 5 minutes, so I'm going to do that. You want to stay organized while you work. I'm admittedly not doing the best job possible right now. All right. That's got to go. That's got to go. Our 4 machine bolts have to go back. Let's go get those 1/2-inch extensions. Major. MCE-X50 maybe? MCE-X 012. Those are in 451. Okay. Got the right extensions. Let's cut those out of the packaging. Get them attached. So cold press doors, not a big deal. That's the live chat. Corey was able to pick that up, so we're in good shape. Yeah, and with these shorter extensions, you know, the whole misalignment. I mean, when I mean misalignment, I mean small values. Small numbers. It's reasonable. Pre-finishing is something that we were doing as well. That's a hassle. It's done, has been done for many years with a UV machine, where it's an extremely durable process that is extremely efficient and extremely inexpensive. Like that. Okay. Now, Sorry, I don't know that I have much left to say about cold press doors. I think I've said it all. I know that I've mentioned the governing document of AWI Section 1300. I don't know of a free place to get that. Yep, that's the problem with that. Yeah, I see what the problem is with that. These holes aren't deep enough. That would be my guess. I'm gonna freehand this a little bit. But it's fun to be able to liberate yourself from the obligatory epic lead times of wood door manufacturers, even though, you know, these are guys who know the business. And, you know, why such epic lead times? The only thing I can come up with is huge demand and the law of diminishing returns, in the sense that, you know, just because there's more business, it's like the airline industry. You know, you pay less to fly to Florida in 2022 than you did in 1980, all things considered, because the public won't pay more. Not going to pay $900 for a wood door. You want it in 3 weeks? Of course we can do it. It's going to cost you $1,200. No, that won't work. Well, 16 weeks. So just throwing manpower at it can be done. That's easy. Doesn't make it profitable. And what we always had at that time was a price. Here's the price. You want it done. Here's a price based on a 3-week lead time. You want it done in 10 working days, add X percent, because I knew what we were going to add for overtime, which people were happy to work. That solves that problem. It's a nice. Okay. So, cam will go on. It's an Adams Wright lock, so we're putting Adams Wright cams onto it. Well, there are 3 Adams Wright cams. We're putting on the MS cam. The screwdrivers I use are Weha. It's a German manufacturer of screwdrivers, precision screwdrivers. What I like about them is they have a cap here, which allows me to turn that and hold the end of the screwdriver in my palm without giving me that obligatory blister that seems to happen. Yeah. Not super in love with this, but that's where the mistake is. That's where the mistake is. I hope you were all screaming at me. Yeah, I was adding the thickness of the collars rather than, I was subtracting the thickness of the collars rather than adding it. We're going to pick this up tomorrow and get it straightened out. Okay, so let's do our math again on how to figure out these cylinders. It turns out I had it correct the first time. The mistake that I made was I just had an 1.125" cylinder rather than an 1 1/8 thumb turn. So what we're going to do is let's take 4 inch and let's subtract the 1/8 of an inch that I want between the two cams. We're then going to add 3/8 of an inch because I'm going to use two 3/16 cylinder collars. We'll divide that by 2. That comes to 2 1/8. So 2 1/8. 2 1/8. So each cylinder needs to be 2 1/8. So let's do this. Yeah, so what I can do, I can stick a 3/16 cylinder collar, or maybe an 1/8 of an inch, with the thumb turn, and then I can stick the 1/4 inch collar under the 2 1/4 inch cylinder. So the bottom line is I need to have 1 inch lengths added to each of these, not 1/2 inch. So luckily they're drilled. I will get the material, let's get the 1 inch extensions that I had removed. The formula I was using was 4 inch minus 0.125 minus 0.375. The minus is what the problem was. I think I may have done minus 1/4 inch. Pardon me, minus 1/2 inch. I need to add the 1/2 inch, not subtract that value, and that's what took me down this crazy road. So I apologize for the, but the bottom line is, double check is what needs to be done always. And when I put the cylinders together with my tape measure, I realized something's not right here. Okay, so turns out good. Put our Adams right, or MS cam. This is the MS cam, the maximum security. MS stands for maximum security. There are 2 other Adams right cams. They both look like standard cams, except one is a little bit shorter, and one is about half of the length of a standard cam. It's noticeably shorter. After I get this wrapped up, I'm going to pull out work. You can't see it, but there's a continuous hinge over here. Terry and I are going to go remove pivots from an aluminum storefront door and install a continuous hinge, and then at a restaurant here in Naples. And then what we're going to end up doing is install some other hardware for the client. So that works really smooth. So our length on this should be 2 1/8. And indeed it is. Okay, now let's remove from the 1 1/4 cylinder. And you'll note I saved all of the packaging because you never know what ends up going back onto the shelf. You never can tell. Alright, the drive assembly, the 1-inch cylinder, and if I'm not satisfied with how this works, I think I have another one on the shelf. I'm just going to re-drill it. Drill another cylinder. It's just stuck a little bit as far as I'm concerned. Although it feels rather even. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly acceptable. So it's good enough. I mean, there's a very small amount of resistance when you rotate the key near the 180 degree, but not so much that it's really going to be an issue. What I'm saying is it's acceptable. There's a steel door at this restaurant that we're going to go to that has, it's missing a door closer. Over the years, there's probably been many door closers installed on this door. It's missing a closer. We're going to probably add a door sweep to it. We're going to put a pull handle on there so the client can actually pull the door closed. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so now I said that we would put all this together and test it. Lay that there. It's certainly good enough. 4-inch door, he said. Well, we're certainly beyond a 4-inch door. Yeah, so we're going to need, I mean, when I put these two cylinders together, it's coming to 4.5. That's because I have 2 1/4 plus 2 1/8 is 4 3/8 and the 1/8 margin between the two. So 2 1/4 plus 2 1/8 is 3 3/8. I'm sorry, 2 1/4 plus 2 1/8 is 4 3/8, plus the 1/8 of an inch between the two cams, so that they don't hit each other. That's 4.5. I'm going to add. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 1/4-inch collars, because the client can always back that off one rotation, whereas using a 3/16 you'd have to actually tighten it. So I think 2 1/4-inch collars are going to be perfect. Actually, absolutely. I'm going to need 1/4-inch collars. Okay, so we will put all of this back together, clean all of our tools. Good. I'm going to get the cylinder collars for these. Yeah, 861F. The letter is the length on an 861, but I don't recall what F. Okay, so F is the 1/4 inch. So we're going to get 2 1/4 inch cylinder collars in black because all this entire job is in a 629 finish. Inventory, those are kept in 9120. Okay, 912. Let's go to that shelf. they're there. They're hiding. Supposed to be 912. So I'm unable to find those collars on the shelf. Yeah, so I will have to have my inventory person discover where those are. So let's, which is not a big deal. They're there somewhere. It's just, if they're not, I'll have to get them. So we've got a couple of cylinders here, right length, works agreeably well. And then what I'll do is I'll make a, so let's clean our tool here. Get the tool cleaned off. And I'll make a list of inventory that has to go back into the shelf. So being able to manufacture cold press doors, that was always That was always good. That turned out to be, back in the late 90s, there was a need in the marketplace for wood door manufacturing, quick ship wood door manufacturing. And that need that existed, well, probably in the 80s and all of the 90s, that definitely changed in terms of the demand, because there were a couple of large distributors that were reliant on these quick ship companies, and they just eventually found a way to not need those companies anymore, and primarily that meant machining the doors themselves. And they got to where I got to when it was a problem of simply needing doors faster than the established companies could produce them. There were two that I dealt with, two large architectural wood door wholesalers, and that was Century Door, which was owned by my cousin, Stan Howard III. And there was Total Door. Total Door was owned by Terry and Russ. I don't know their last names. They're long. Terry's passed away. I would imagine, I certainly hope Russ is still alive. And they were wholesalers of doors, and they did everything by hand. I think they may have had a door light machine. That's about as exotic as they ever got with their machinery. Century Door did all the architectural stuff by hand, as far as I know, but they did a lot of residential doors. And I believe that they had a door, a pre-hanging machine for doing that type of work. All right. And it just got to a point with Century Door that I couldn't get the doors that I needed quick enough. And the journey really started by me teaching myself through painful trial and error how to machine a door for 3 hinges and a 161. That is where all that started. And it got to a point where more of that work was done. It got to a point where the complexity of what we were doing increased, of what I was doing increased. And we were doing, door lights, and then we were doing, mortise locks with function holes, and then exit devices with function holes. We've done overhead concealed closers. We've done olive knuckle hinges. So all of that work was done. I am struggling finding my Allen wrench for removing that tool. It will materialize, that's for sure. This is the pitfalls of being a bit disorganized when you're working, which I will admit guilt to. There are 3 Allen wrenches that are included with this cylinder fixture. One is for setting the clamp together. The other is used for tightening this plate down. There's an Allen wrench here, which are just for the ball bearings that hold the cylinder in. But it's this Allen wrench that I'm using, that I'm removing these screws that I don't see on the desk here somewhere. It's got to be covered up. Don't do like me. Be organized. Actually, I'm just teasing. I'm always organized. I just, you know, there's only so much organization that you'll ultimately end up doing when you're doing just 1 or 2 cylinders. Oof. Put the drill fixture back on, because that's how I'll use it next. I don't know. All right. Okay, so get rid of all the brass shavings here. Put our tool back. The same paper it arrived to us in. Basically, by putting the tools away, I'm hoping that we will find our lost Allen wrench. Our tap handle. Our drill bit, our tap, our 2 Allen wrenches. And I have a spare bag of screws that I end up accumulating on these types of projects. These 4 will have to go here to put the 1/2-inch collar extensions back into stock. This little guy, these 2 little guys. One-inch extensions, drive cams, we've got a couple of spare 863Gs. We have our 1/2-inch extensions that have to go back onto the shelf, so let's do that. I am befuddled where my Allen wrench went to. is not good. Okay, so that is a bad mystery. All right, well, let's just keep moving on. Suppose I could watch this recording to see where I ended up putting that. Okay, well, I will have to discover the mystery of the missing Allen wrench at some point in the future. So that wraps up the cylinders and talking about cold press doors. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you. Thanks to our clients, Architectural Builder Supply is building an additional facility, and what follows is not only a look at the acreage that we're building the facility on, but also first the architectural renderings as they exist, or at least the architectural plans as they exist at this time. Thank you very much. Let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at the architecturals as they exist at this moment, or at least it wouldn't be proper to call these architecturals, but it would be proper to call them renderings in the sense of they're conceptual drawings, they're not renderings. So the entire space is going to look like this in terms of a site rendering. This will be a 22,000 square foot building, of which will have specific purpose areas. There'll be a workshop down here. This is a few thousand square feet that will be likely woodworking, metalworking, CNC, things of that nature. This will be an office area here, a private office area. This will be Architectural Builders Supply expanded storage area where we will be able to do fulfillment. The entire space in the center is going to be all of the volume, as I call it. Large components will be able to be stored and stocked there. Machinery that's too large to fit otherwise may be put out here. Specific facility rooms, and then some recreation over here. Let's take a look at that drone footage, and thank you very much for taking a look.